This is music, and this is another First Impressions video. Welcome to another First Impressions video. In these videos, I share with you my first impressions of the many blind buys I've picked up lately. Let's just get down to business. Starting with this one here, Defender. They came over the high pass. Awesome cover artwork, in my opinion. This to me is straight up traditional heavy metal. You could perhaps make an argument for there being a power metal dimension to this. I mean, a lot of the songs do sound, you know, kind of epic. And lyrically, they deal with high fantasy themes, dragon riders, cities in the clouds, all that good stuff. But to me, it's at the end of the day, it's traditional heavy metal. You have a lot of traditional heavy metal tropes, like galloping guitars and, other riff types that I associate with traditional heavy metal. The songs are not exactly short, but most of them have, enough interesting things going on that this is overall a solid listen. Sure, there's a bit of filler material, but even that is actually kind of interesting. So that's cool. The vocals are not polished. The guy can obviously sing, but they're not polished. They're, I don't know, think maybe Symphony X or something like that. And that adds a gritty dimension to this as well, which I think is pretty cool. So this is a great album. The production is not great though. The word that comes to mind is muffled, but I don't think that is the right word to use. There's just something to the production that makes it not great, but it doesn't make it unlistenable. This is a great traditional heavy metal album. If you like Megaton Sword, that sort of stuff, this is worth checking out. Maybe also if you're a fan of high fantasy literature. Up next, we have a veteran band. This is Impilitary. War Machine. I think this is their most recent album. And I didn't even notice when I picked this up, but this lineup features Paul Bostaph on drums. So I think that's very cool. And it is definitely quite heavy sounding. I would say it's still traditional heavy metal. Awesome cover artwork, though. Still traditional heavy metal, but the guitar tone is quite heavy. And some of the songs are kind of fast, kind of bordering maybe on power metal. Some of them even bordering on power thrash, but it's not a thrash or speed metal album. I wouldn't even consider it a power metal album, but it's quite hard hitting. Obviously, the drumming is great. The guitar work is fantastic. The vocals are awesome too. This is actually a great listen. Definitely worth checking out. I'm definitely gonna look more into Impilitary's more recent stuff. I've kind of stuck to their, the early stuff. So yeah, this is awesome, and it's quite heavy for a traditional heavy metal album, and definitely heavier than your average Frontiers Records release. Excellent. Up next, change of gear. This is Thunder, Backstreet Symphony, and cheesy cover artwork, but also kind of clever, I think. Okay, this is just cheesy. Cheesy band photo, but whatever. So this to me is a hard rock. I don't know, maybe you could call it glam metal or something. Uh, I consider it hard rock. Some of it has like 70s hard rock vibes to it. Some of it is almost kind of bluesy sounding. Um, and some of it sounds more like a polished version of AC/DC, some of the riffs. It is kind of cheesy, but the songs are just too catchy not to like. I mean, yeah, sure, again, you got some filler, you got some, ballady stuff, whatever, but the hard rocking songs, there's nothing wrong with them. It's a good, fun listen. Nothing wrong with the musicianship either. The vocals are, I wouldn't say they're pretty boy vocals, but they kind of are pretty boy vocals. But at times, the guy sounds a little bit like Ronnie James Dio. So I think that's interesting. This is definitely a fun, hard rock listen for sure. I mean, I had a blast listening to it. Is it the greatest hard rock album in the world? No, but it's enjoyable. I like it. So there you go. Okay, up next, uh, Van Halen 3. I like this. I think this is actually pretty good. I don't care what anybody says. The vocals I think are great on here. Sure, it sounds like more like 90s hard rock, maybe even just like 90s rock, but there's an explanation for that. The guitar work is still awesome. I really like the drums. They have a nice organic sound to them. And yeah, I think this is great stuff. You have, yeah, okay, maybe How Many Say I? Okay, I don't know. Maybe that song is out of place, but overall, I think this is really good. Sure, there's a slight funk rock feel to some of the songs, but the guitar work is still great. The drumming is great. I really dig the vocals on here as well. And some of the songs are interesting. I mean, there is an alternative rock, dimension to some of this, and it's there not a whole lot of 80s style Van Halen on this one, but I think they're allowed to take their music in new directions, and they did that on this one, and I actually like it. But I get it. I mean, if you were a lifelong Van Halen fan and you loved their 80s output, and then they changed their style radically in this one, I get why you might not like it. Uh, you know, Experience something similar with Metallica, Load and Reload. I hate those albums. Dislike those albums. They're not worth hating, but I dislike him. But that's because I was a fan of Metallica, like before they put them out. But with Van Halen, I was never really a Van Halen fan, so I don't have a dog in any Van Halen fight. Uh, I actually think this is better than some of the David Lee Roth albums, David Lee Roth fronted Van Halen albums I've heard. So for what it is, I think this is a good, solid 90s hard rock album with, yeah, a couple of blunders on it for sure, but overall, I really like it. And I don't care what anyone says. And up last, we have this one here. This is Crystal Eye by Vengeance, another kind of band that, kind of 80s legends for sure. So I would say this is somewhere in the no man's land between hard rock and heavy metal. Uh, the guitar tone, modern, quite heavy. You have a lot of heavy metal riffs on here, but you also have a lot of, hard rock stuff, even like 80s inspired hard rock, which I don't know, maybe makes kind of sense. Great vocals on here too. Very solid production. Just enjoyable songs. Is it on par with their early classics? I think maybe it kind of is, but of course, it's not as, I don't know, authentic as their early classics, as a hard rock album. I don't even know what I'm saying. Maybe it is. This makes no sense. But at the end of the day, it's a really, really good album that kind of perfectly balances, like, you know, hard rock, even like softer hard rock, and traditional heavy metal, even quite hard hitting heavy metal. Great vocals, great album, worth checking out, in my opinion. So there you go, a handful of CDs. I liked them all, even Van Halen 3, and I don't care what you say. But as always, go and check them out on your own and see if you like them. For now, thanks for watching.